We're on.
All he's doing is
Good evening, everyone. Everyone, please rise. We'll be led in prayer by Alderman Darrell Wilson, please.
Almighty God, we ask for your blessing upon the members of this council as we assemble here in this chamber to conduct the ongoing business of our city. With your guidance, we will strive to ensure that all our decisions are for the common good, and your inspiration will instill respect, compassion, thoughtfulness in our deliberations. Give us the strength and the wisdom to lead by example as the people's representatives, and that peace and harmony will mark all our proceedings and keep us faithful to the trust placed in us by the citizens of our community. Amen.
Amen. Alderman Stacey Gould, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I guess we know. Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'd like to declare that citizen comment general is open at this time. If anyone would like to address the City Council, please approach the mic and please give your name and your address for the public record.
Yeah, the list.
I'm sorry?
The list on the other side.
Oh, okay. Okay, we do have a sign-up list. The one person signed up is Mr. Marvin Cerruto.
My name is Marvin Cerruto. I live on 100 Star Street, Norwich, Connecticut, the United States of America, which is a republic, not a democracy. And I'm tired of the gobbledygook that comes out of this council. I would like to see you keep your big fat mouth shut once in a while. Gobbledygook. Stacey Gould was talking a couple of meetings ago, and she had on point. She was on point. And the Democrats shut her down. You know what? Shut up. You don't know what a dead horse is. I know what a dead horse is. You don't know what a dead horse is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on non-agenda items at this time? Yes, please, Mrs. Filbert.
Good evening. My name is Joanne Philbrick. I live at 10 Elm Avenue, Norwich, Connecticut. I am fully vaccinated, but I choose to wear a mask because the pandemic is far from over. Far from over. My first question of the evening, where is Mr. Salamone and where is Mr. Nash? Usually at the beginning of the meeting,
Mr. Salamone is on a vacation, and Mr. Nash got called back to work as he was leaving work.
Mr. Salamone is on vacation every day. He's been on vacation for the last 16 months. I spent the better part of my day. I'm not going to be quite as vocal as Mr. Cerruto, and I know I only have 3 minutes, which is an insult to the taxpayers of the city. 3 minutes once a month. If you answered your phones or your emails, perhaps we wouldn't have to have meetings like this. I spent the better part of my afternoon trying to get through to someone, anyone, to answer their goddamn phone. You have reached the planning board. Press 1 for this, press 2 for that, press 3 for a staff directory. Answer the damn phone. Every single department with the exception of Betsy, Jackie, and Tony. Answer the damn phone. I want to go on to something else. Many of us received our tax bills the other day. A lot of people were in shock, myself among them. Mark, you're shaking your head in agreement.
No, I'm-
But you voted for the budget. You voted to increase our tax cut. You voted for all this crap that's on the agenda. Spend, 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 spend. It never ends. Peter, I ran with you for election, what is it now, 10 years ago? And one of the things that you said was that you wanted to start cutting departments. You haven't cut a damn thing. People in the city are fed up. Fed up. You are our representatives. If you will not listen to us, or at least acknowledge us, what's the point? I was going to give up, and then I said, you know what, I'm not going to let you get the best of me. I'm not. I'm going down, but I'm going down with a fight. So we'll have round 2 shortly. Thank you.
Thank you. And anyone else like to speak before the council on non-agenda items? Yeah, please, sir. This is a moment when people can address the council on things that are not on the agenda. Not on the agenda.
I'm asking, is that on the agenda?
It's listed as citizen comment in general on our agenda.
Particular subjects on the agenda.
If you may bring anything up, but understand that it may be brought back up later because it's an agenda item.
Right, my name is Malloy Perkins. I live on West Thames Street in Norwich.
What's his name?
I've been attacked.
I'm sorry,
Can
could
you
you
say it
repeat?
again? I'm sorry.
Malloy Perkins.
Malloy, thank you.
And I don't think that you guys taking tax money or city money and giving it to Habitat for Humanity is fair, by no means. There's a lot of people in the city that own property that's looking to buy, city foreclosed property so they can rehab and sell it or rent it out, whatever they want to do with it. And for you to take the taxpayers' money and hand it over to them, you're going to pay them, I might be wrong, but to my understanding, you're going to pay them to fix the house. You're going to give them the property, pay them to fix the property, then they're going to turn around and sell it. Who won't take advantage of that? And for you guys to partner up with them what the paper's saying, I don't think it's fair. And I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. I'm all set.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah. Yes, sir, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Augustus C. Wortham, Jr. I live at 575 Boswell Ave in Norwich, Connecticut. I don't usually make appearances here because I truly believe that you wouldn't be sitting there if it wasn't for the fact that you're capable of doing the job. But my concerns, I have 2. One is the resolution that's pending tonight. And the other is the fact that I've been in this city for over 50 years. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why we do not invest in our children. I can't understand that. There should be a community center in this city. There should be. But I've watched over the last few years entities that were in place shut down. I have been part of a citywide community group whose sole goal is to fix the problems that nobody seems to fix. I sit on the Rose City United Group, where we address the issues of relationships between the community and Norwich PD. But sitting and talking about it only goes so far. We have to address the fact that there are certain things that you can do. And one is give our kids a a safe haven to learn, to grow, to prosper. You, ladies and gentlemen, are in a position to do that. Now, the resolution on racism, that's a start. But don't let that be the one thing you do today. Fix our city. This is the Rose City. I've served this city and I've served this country. And I come to you asking that you fix it. That you fix it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome home.
Again, anyone else like to speak on non-agenda items who have not had a chance?
Good evening. My name is LaShawn Cunningham. I am a Norwich resident, and I live at 575 Boswell Avenue. I just would like to say that I just left from a basketball game over on the west side, and I asked a group of young people if they would like to come to this city council meeting tonight. I gave them a little bit of a rundown of what it was and what we were doing so that their voices would be heard. And like Mr. Gus, I too invest in the youth. I have been in Norwich all of my life, and we need a youth center or a Boys and Girls Club for these youth. They have, after the summer and after Night Flight is over, and I know all of you sitting here know about Night Flight, when Night Flight is over, they then do not have anything else to do. We need something for our youth. If you say that you care about this city and that you love this city and you love the residents of this city and tax-paying residents of this city, then you would invest in your youth. That's all that I'm asking. I'm pleading and I'm begging that you invest in our youth.
Thank you. And anyone else like to address the council, please?
Hi, my name is Isaiah. I live in 123 Maple Street in Norwich. I currently go to Monroe College in New York, and just like Mr. LaShawn said, I feel like there should be a place for like our youth to go, because like when I was younger, I didn't really have that. I'm 18 years old now, and as I was younger, I didn't really have that place to go to where I could hang out, do this, because it was either school and after school programs after school. And after that, it was nothing else. So I feel like having the community come together, you guys as like a group, do something for the youth, because the youth is struggling and they need you guys' help. And I feel like you guys are the biggest influence that we have, and that you guys could do something. And I'm just asking, because like from experience, like it really would help if you guys just come together. That's really all.
Thank you, sir. Sir, could you restate your name a little louder, please? I don't think the clerk was able to record it.
My name's Isaiah Paul.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Again, anyone else like to speak to the council on non-agenda items? Please.
Good evening. Lawrence Lazat, 1 Watercress Ave, Norwich, Connecticut. I'm 49 years old. This is my first time at one of these meetings, and I've lived in this town most of my life. I was in Wyndham for a few years, came back, so 42 years in Norwich. I've watched the slow decay of this town my entire life. We're basically a pit stop now between the casinos. If you want to get gas or stop at McDonald's, sure. But there's not much else here, and certainly not much else here for the people, the residents. So if we're not using the taxes to benefit society, then we don't really have one. It'll just be that continuing decay until we're just one of those empty towns on the way to something else. So I agree with the previous speakers about a youth center. It's absolutely essential. When I was a kid, there was nothing. Arcades, a couple of pool halls, the bowling alley. But if we want this to be a thriving city, somewhere where people will go before they go to the casinos, before they go to a show, after they go to a show, then we need to do something to improve how it looks, the way it treats its people. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Public hearing is still open. Anyone like to address the council on non-agenda items? Again, anyone else like to address the council on non-agenda items?
Hello, my name's Erica Brannon. I live at 35 Cordo Road. I also support a community center. I think it's very important that our children have an outlet. You see graffiti on our walls, our buildings, because they have nowhere to go, nowhere to put that energy. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Tracy Berto. I live at 1 Watercress Ave in Norwich. I didn't grow up around here. I grew up in Manchester, and I also agree we need to have a community center here in Norwich for the kids to do. Luckily, you know, like I said, I grew up in Manchester. We had community centers. We have a YMCA. They have the Police Athletic League. There's stuff for children to do to keep them out of trouble. And I think that these kids definitely need something to keep them out of trouble, to help them in school, and to give them a safe place. So, I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Anyone else like to address the council on non-agenda items? Again, anyone else like to address the council on non-agenda items? Third request. Would anyone else like to address the council on non-agenda items? Seeing no one else, I then declare this portion of our council agenda closed, and we thank you all for sharing all your concerns.
Petitions and communication. Letter of resignation of Robert R. Buckley from the Redevelopment Agency.
At this time, I request a motion, please, to bring this forward. Alderwoman Miles and Alderman Wilson. Is there discussion? Being done? All those in favor of the request for the petition? Thank you. It's unanimous. Motion is 6-0.
Number 2, letter of resignation of Jacqueline W. Randall from the Senior Affairs Commission.
Request this bring forward, please. Alderwoman Gould, second by Alderwoman Miles. Is there discussion? Yes, Alderman Wilson.
Just want to thank Jacqueline for her many years of service in this role and supporting the community, to have her thoughts and different groups' thoughts at the table, and wish her the best.
Thank you, sir. Very important. Is there further comment? If not, all those in favor? Motion passes 6-0.
Public hearing. An ordinance increasing the appropriation from $750,000 to $997,500 for the planning, acquisition, and construction of a water main and service lines for the Countryside Drive Association, increasing the authorization from $750,000 to $997,500 for the issuance of revenue bonds of the city secured solely by water revenue to meet said appropriation, authorizing the city and Department of Public Utilities to enter into grant and loan agreements with a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect hereto.
Thank you. At this time, I declare this public hearing to be open. And at this time, I would invite anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance to do so at this time. Again, please state your name and your address for the public record.
Hi, Mark Perkins, 81 Lauder Lane. Honorable Mayor and alderpersons of the council, I serve as the chief operator for Countryside Drive Association Community Well, and I'm also on the board of directors. So we as a homeowners association have partnered with NPU over the last 2 years to shut down our aging water system and convert to city water. Unfortunately, the pandemic has caused unexpected delays, and with delays come costs. Excuse me. Therefore, to be brief, I'm asking you that you approve this ordinance to allow us to complete this long-running public health project. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Again, anyone else like to speak in favor of this ordinance at this time? Again, anyone like to speak in favor of this ordinance at this time? Again, anyone like to speak in favor of the ordinance at this time? Again, a third request. Is there anyone else likes to speak in favor of this ordinance at this time? Seeing no one else, then I would ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition to this ordinance at this time.
Marvin Ceruto, 100 Star Street, Norwich, Connecticut, the United States of America, a republic. And you know what? I am so tired of you people spending money. Let me say that again. I am tired of you people spending money.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak against this ordinance?
Hi, good evening. I'm Robert Bell, 122 Broadway. Now, I'm not necessarily opposed to this, but I think there are some things we need to take into account before you vote yes or no on it. I understand there's an increase of costs with delays that have happened I am trusting that you guys have taken a look at the numbers and you understand what the increase in costs are. That's one. And number two, it looks like part of these are in the form of loans, which means interest that we have to pay back. And I'd like to request or add to that before anyone or any company gets to enjoy any profits from the completion of this project, that all loans be paid back in full before anyone gets to enjoy, any profits from that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else like to speak in opposition? Yeah, please, Mrs. Filbert.
Joanne Filbert, 10 Avenue. I'm going to try and keep my blood pressure and my angst under control, because I will tell you I am actually suffering from something called a basilar tip aneurysm. So if I go down, you'll know what to tell the EMTs. And I mean that in all sincerity. This is a very serious issue. I don't get it. I don't get it. NPU is a Norwich public utility company. It is owned by the ratepayers. So now they want an additional $250,000, let that sink in, $247,500 of a project that was going to cost $750,000 to begin with. So I have a couple of questions, and I hope that someone would answer me, although, as I said, my faith and trust in the powers that be is non-existent. I would be curious to know if the Countryside Drive Association is an actual association, if they pay dues, and if so, let them pay for it out of their own association. If you have a condo in Florida and it needs a new roof, the association pays for the new roof. And this said will be secured solely by water revenue to meet said appropriation. I'm not known for my tact. I don't really care. I'm not interested in providing water for the people of the Countryside Drive Association. I can barely pay my utility bills as it is. People get up here and they talk about the youth. I'm going to tell you something about the elderly. Suicides among the elderly are rampant. Rampant. And one of the reasons why, and I get very emotional, is because we have become invisible. You don't see us, you don't listen to us, and you don't give a rat's ass about us. Not one thing. So I want to know from NPU if this is going to mean yet another rate increase. It's like the school department, it's like the Board of Ed. It never ends. It never ends. So provide your water for the Countryside Drive Association if indeed they are taxpayers and rate users like all the rest of us. We'll all find a way to pay this increase because we always do. We'll give up something else. I don't know what else you expect us to give up. Quite frankly, it's out of control. It's out of control.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition to this ordinance as proposed? Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition to this ordinance as proposed? Third time. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition to this ordinance as proposed? Seeing no one else, I then declare this public hearing closed, and thank you all.
Second reading in action. An ordinance increasing the appropriation from $750,000 to $997,500 for the planning, acquisition, and construction of a water main and service lines for the Countryside Drive Association, increasing the authorization from $750,000 to $997,500 for the issuance of revenue bonds of the city secured solely by water revenue to meet said appropriation, authorizing the city and the Department of Public Utilities to enter into grant and loan agreements and a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect hereto.
Thank you. Could I have a motion, please, to put this on the floor? President Pro Tem Mark Bettencourt and Alderwoman Gould. Mr. General Manager, for the benefit of the public who are here and our council members, if you could make yourself available for any specific questions. One of our speakers spoke about an issue. You heard what she was concerned about. Could you describe and talk about the Clean Water Fund? And that is where the funds are coming from. It's the state of Connecticut Clean Water Fund for the grants and loans. If you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, so this project is being funded by the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. We came to the council originally with an estimate of $750,000, and in the past 2 years, we've seen significant costs due to the supply chain issues happening as a result of the pandemic. Everybody hears about that $2 2x4 that now costs you $12. Well, same is going for fuel, for bonding, ductile iron pipe, and the PE pipe and other paving materials. So everything has gone up significantly. We're seeing a 38% increase in ductile iron pipe costs right now. Hard to get, and these are real costs that need to get passed on to the utility or to make it up. That's why our numbers have gone up significantly. When it comes to the cost, the state has increased their grant percentage to alleviate some of this cost. The actual loan piece of this project is going to be paid for by the Countryside residents.
Sorry.
These residents are being assessed over a 20-year period. A number not to exceed, right now the number is $2,800 per resident. The rest is covered by the state. Taxpayers will not be paying for this. This will not result in any water increases. We have a 3-year rate track that our board approved last November. This year, There will be no increase in water rates. Next year, there is no increase in water rates. Those rate increases for the other utilities are going up in November. Water will remain constant. That was approved before. This budget still fits within our water budget, and between the state and what's coming from the 17 residents from Countryside, that will not impact any water rate payers.
In Norwich?
In Norwich.
Yes.
Or any outside of Norwich
Yes.
or in Norwich.
Thank you. Are there questions of the council members? Yes. Oh, Mark, please. President Pro Tem.
Chris, so the question, I think, the things, basically, we're being reimbursed, I guess, by the association for the money that's not covered by grants. Is that my understanding?
That's correct. There will be an assessment on each homeowner
Right. So
in that project.
The bonds we're floating are strictly revenue bonds, or paid, and those monies are going to be paid strictly by the assessment. You know, the differences between the grants and the assessment.
Yes, that's correct.
So no other additional funds will be paid by the city at all?
No, the city will not pay any funds, so taxpayers do not pay for this. Everything is being assessed to the homeowners.
The state's paying for it, so.
The state is paying for it.
Well, let's not be,
Taxes
let's be realistic.
are paying
yeah.
for this, but
Okay.
not local taxes.
Yeah. So, but the city, the taxes in the city of Norwich will not be impacted.
Correct, and the rates
And
of the
will not.
ratepayers of the utility are also not impacted.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there other questions, concerns of council? Is there anything else you'd like to share?
This is addressing a public health need. We have a small group that no longer wants to operate and maintain the well. There's been issues with keeping this well up and operational. Department of Health is very interested in removing another small water system and getting it on our system. And so it's a win-win for Norwich, Department of Health, and the Countryside Association.
Thank you. Yes, President Pro Tem.
One other question. Are there any opportunities that you can foresee possibly down the road for further expansion of the water system that could be related to this project?
Absolutely. So if, you know, on the opposite side of the street, if that were to be developed, we could tap off of this line with this short extension and feed another development if that were up there. And it can continue on up the road if need be.
Okay, thank you.
That's why we're going 8-inch on the main root drag and then smaller throughout the
You're trying to plan
project.
ahead just in case? In other words?
Absolutely, and if that'll be what's best for the system, and it also provides a little more fire protection up there.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. And the school is right on the corner. My hand, Moriarty, excuse me.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other concerns, members of council? Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you.
If there are no other concerns, then I'd ask for a roll call, please.
Jones has his hand up.
Yeah, please, Alderman Delusha.
I didn't have any questions for the general manager, but I do have
You're
comment
certainly
on
invited
the
to.
discussion.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So a couple of things that were incorrectly stated at the podium. A, this is not a homeowners association in a condo complex. This is a group of 1,200 square foot homes on 9,600 square foot lots on Lawler Lane and Evergreen and Sunrise, and there's another street back there, I forget the name of it, but you know, this is a neighborhood that was put in place in the late 50s. And at the time, a community well was put in, serves 24 thereabouts houses, and the system has been held together with Band-Aids and bubble gum and the best efforts of many people who live in the neighborhood for literally for decades. Full disclosure, I lived in this neighborhood. I was one of very few houses that had and still has its own well on the property. Many of the rest of the houses are serviced by this one well that just cannot provide safe drinking water. So, you know, this is not a golden handshake to a homeowners association that might be politically connected. This is a group of homeowners, taxpayers, that have been living in these homes since 1959, and they deserve safe drinking water. We have the ability to put it out there, and with the state's help, cover much of the cost. That we would be irresponsible. We would be remiss to tell the utility not to do this. So it is unfortunate that we are emerging from a pandemic that has changed the shape of business in all aspects, both public and private sectors. It has increased the cost. It's still worth every penny to the people who live there and will ultimately be paying for it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well said. Is there further comment? Seeing no further comment, then we may have a roll call, please.
Alderman DeLucia?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miles?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
That's 6-0.
The motion passes 6-0. The ordinance is adopted. Thank you.
Citizen, sorry.
Please go ahead.
Citizen comment on resolutions.
At this time, I declare citizen comment on the resolutions on the agenda to be open. Again, anyone wishing to speak on the resolutions, you're invited to do so. State your name and address for the public record. And we do have a sign-up sheet. We don't have a sign-up sheet. I'm sorry. That is the other one. Yes, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Sorry.
Thank
Gotta
you.
get the
I'll be
thing fixed.
short. Trying to tell you
Sorry, I
something.
apologize. I
Thank you for your
apologize.
comment.
I am Swaranjit Singh Khalsa, resident of 56 Briar Hill Road, Norwich, and I would like to just say a few words in favor of resolution at number 6, which is in front of you today, to recognize racism as a public health crisis. I must say, to rectify the problem and to find the solution, first we all have to identify the problem. So this pandemic has not just helped us identify what we lack in our nation's healthcare system, but also highlighted wide racial disparities in our healthcare. Also, I want to share that I was glad to see our state created a special 28-member commission to study this issue and also trying to allocate resources. So we are not just talking, we are also walking on this issue. By June 1st, 2021, 21 Connecticut municipalities have already declared racism a health crisis and are taking steps to fight it. So far, nationally, 5 states, along with more than 90 cities and 65 counties, have all declared racism as a public health crisis. As a member of a faith-based community and even as an American citizen, I personally believe, everyone has right to live, have right for liberty, and pursue of happiness. And when I see our state senators in state capitol bringing the facts that African Americans are 5.5 times more likely to go to emergency room due to asthma, or for prostate cancer, the mortality rate is twice as high for black men than white men. It made me highly concerned about this issue. It is clearly public health crisis, and as a city, it's our responsibility to look for solution and help our citizens. So I would like to applaud the effort of City Council for bringing this resolution on the table and making sure all our departments also see things through the equity lens. And as a Board of Education member, I served in Equity Committee as well, and I must say there are a lot of volunteers in our city who are willing to help deal with the situation. So I think that'll be a first good step moving forward by recognizing the need for it. And I have also said time to time that we should try for cultural competency training for our city workers or people who serve in our city. I have seen myself results. I have done these kind of trainings, and they're very good in ice breaking and also help to change perception among people. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir. Again, anyone else like to speak on the resolutions on the agenda, please?
Marvin Cerruto, 100 Star Street, Norwich, Connecticut, the United States of America, a republic, and number 6 is an insult to me. I spent 63 years of my life doing everything I could for this country. You see these dolphins? See these fish? They don't give these away. My father, I buried with German steel. He was in Italy, missing in action in Italy twice, hit twice by artillery. My brother was in Vietnam, and we have Vietnam vets in here, and I hope they come up and talk. This is an insult. Insult! I patrol the Arctic Circle. I'm a blue-nosed sailor. They don't give these fish away.
Thank you. Karen.
Good evening. My name is Karen Lau, and I am a Norwich resident. I live at 25 Surrey Lane. I'm speaking today in favor of Resolution Number 6, relative to racism as a public health crisis in the city of Norwich. Racism has historically impacted socioeconomic factors that hindered minorities from gaining access to affordable health insurance, leading to a higher maternal mortality rate for Black women, a greater likelihood for African Americans of developing pre-existing conditions, and a disproportionate number of COVID-19 cases between Black and white Americans. Essential workers, many of whom are immigrants, are at greater risk during these times, especially if they lack paid family and medical leave or access to vaccines. Socioeconomic status and the racial wealth gap have been determinants of public health for too long. The action points in this resolution mandate that the Norwich City Council and City Manager will work together to dismantle systemic racism by developing a Norwich Health Equity Plan. Action Point 7 states, focus on access to prevention and treatment that is culturally and linguistically competent and meets communities where they are to counter the inequities that exist in healthcare. Beyond physical health, racism has left an indelible mark on the mental health for many communities of color. Upon declaring racism a public health crisis, it is vital for the City of Norwich to establish mental health support, treatment, and therapy programs for people who have endured racial trauma, which can arise from bullying, race-based harassment, xenophobia, hate crimes, police brutality, and ethnic discrimination. The City of Norwich has resources, including United Community and Family Services, to provide mental health support to these individuals. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, hate crimes against the Asian American community have increased exponentially. Hateful rhetoric and ignorant inaction can lead to violence. Families like mine have faced increased stress, fear, and anxiety towards simple tasks like grocery shopping or using public transportation because of these hate crimes. However, equal representation in local government and jobs can increase the visibility of our communities. Action Points 9 and 10 will ensure that hiring and promotion to leadership positions are given fairly through, quote, racially equitable economic and workforce development practices. Fair hiring and equal salary will empower people of color to emerge into administrative and leadership roles where they will have the ability to draft policies and champion their communities. Please vote in favor of this resolution declaring racism a public health crisis in the City of Norwich. We have diagnosed a problem in our city. Now it's time for you to treat the symptoms. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
My name is Linda Theodorou. I live at 37 Taffville Ockham Road in Norwich. I'm here to speak in favor of Resolution Number 6. Recently, I went to see the fireworks in the Norwich Harbor, and as I looked around at everyone else who had come, I noted just how diverse our city was. My own neighborhood contains people from many different ethnicities and cultures. It is unconscionable that we should not all have the same health, educational, and employment opportunities. Racism impacts health in many ways. First, it is difficult to get a job with decent health care. Healthcare professionals sometimes don't take the concerns or complaints of minorities as seriously as they do whites. Healthy food tends to cost more than fast and junk food. Stores and farmers markets that carry fresh produce are rarely located near poorer neighborhoods. Education ties in with health also. Those who are less educated are less likely to understand the difference between conspiracy theories and facts. In today's crisis of vaccination hesitancy, this impacts those who refuse to get vaccinated and those around them who can be negatively impacted by the unvaccinated. Racism is also a factor that decreases the number of minority health professionals. Many people are much more likely to trust and follow the advice of someone who looks like them. Greater numbers of unhealthy people decrease productivity in the workplace. They also increase the cost of insurance for everyone. Combating racism would benefit the entire city. We all pay for it in one way or another, even though we may think that we are not being directly impacted by it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Peter Helms, and I live at 54 Woodrow Avenue, Norrichtown. I'm here to talk about Resolution 6 as a Norwich native who was born at the Bacchus Hospital. Professionally, I'm a business developer, consultant, social entrepreneur, and local business owner here. For several years, I've served local communities across Connecticut in efforts to improve the socioeconomic conditions of marginalized people. For example, I served as a commissioner on the Board of Economic Development in Manchester to foster the revitalization and growth of their downtown district. We did this by incentivizing startup businesses, encouraging a vibrant arts community, and working to develop an inclusive and innovative co-working environment. I've also worked in partnership with the City of Hartford, University of Hartford's Blarney School of Business, and TD Bank to implement an entrepreneurship program for women and minority-owned businesses. Through this program, we revitalized Hartford's New Park Avenue by delivering opportunities and resources to otherwise marginalized citizens. I would like to start off by saying, yes, racism is a public health crisis, and it affects our entire community. Systemic racism is a very serious issue that no longer will be brushed under the rug. We must stop allowing politicians and departments within our city to create publicity stunts that make it seem like Norwich is immune to this pandemic of systemic racism. I've heard countless reports and personally witnessed the creation of socioeconomic barriers by certain members of our local governance here. Through a good old boys network within this community, these barriers have historically kept our Black and brown citizens oppressed and without fair and equitable access to opportunities. I'm calling for us to take a closer look at the policies in place in this city as they pertain to economic development. I call for us to be more careful and critical in the election of officials who we entrust to govern such policies. I call for the development of strategies that work to dismantle the systemic racism that creates barriers to strong public health. With the aim of fully realizing MLK's quote that an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere, we can create a more fair and equitable community. I believe it starts by forming local coalitions of concerned citizens and committees that address the racial equity issues in our community. It starts by creating a system of governance that better reflects the community it serves. I've carefully read the 13-point action plan, and what I have to say is thank God for the fine group of people who developed this. I see it as a real practical path forward. On the other hand, our sitting mayor, Peter Nystrom, has supposedly gone on record with his position regarding this plan with, quote unquote, "I don't have an opinion, yay or nay." If this is indeed true, I'm absolutely offended because I expect more from our local leaders. This leaves us with the question, where do our public officials really stand when it comes to systemic racism? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I'd also like to speak. Please.
Joe Anfield, Brookton Avenue. This is a very emotional and sensitive discussion. I personally would like to see, rather than the statement of, bear with me here a minute, racism as a public health emergency, as inequality as a health emergency. You can look around this room. We have men, women, young, old, tall, short, black, white, Asian, rich, poor, timid, and outspoken. We are not, by any stretch of the imagination, treated equally. We have a crisis in this country, and we have for a very, very long time. Some of the things that I'm going to say, I can already feel the knives in my back. We have police officers, not all, but some, who have taken an oath to protect and serve, which, by the way, I don't believe is on their police cruisers anymore, which begs the question, why? Who are murdering our young black men in the streets of this country. I would not want to be the mother of a young black man in America today. I can remember as a child, and I'm 78 years old, my father worked for the government, and we went to Patuxent River, Maryland. And we were staying off base for a while our housing was established. And we were in our motel room one night and had the windows open, and we could hear an altercation in the alleyway next to our hotel room. My father opened the window, looked out, because he was a kind and gentle man. And they were beating a black man to death. My father put on his shoes, he went downstairs, tried to intervene, and they said, "Listen, you damn Yankee, don't be sticking your nose where it belongs, where it don't belong, or you'll be the next." And that has stuck with me for 70 years. We have not made progress in this country. We are backsliding. There is such inequality and inequities in our society. We have to find a way to exist as the human race. Agree to disagree, but respect each other. We all know that we're not all going to make $250,000 a year. Some of us are going to empty the trash, and some of us are going to be brain surgeons. But keep in mind, I will leave you with this, that you can't dictate, and I choose that word very carefully. You cannot dictate people's emotions and their thoughts. We need to educate and communicate. Thank you.
Thank you. Sit, please.
Larry Rice, Will Road, Norwich, Connecticut. This is in reference to number 4, relative to the reappointment of a member of the Board of Assessment Appeals. You people encourage, or you speak to people and you try to get them to come in here and do things for the city, which is good. Myself, I was fortunate enough to get on the Assessment Board of Appeals, was interviewed by Mr. Betancourt and Stacy Gold. However, that was an accident when they told me I was on for 2 years, and it was a 1-year term instead of a 2-year term. So I got a call from the mayor's secretary and asked me to fill out another application so I could get on it again for another 2-year term, which I did. The application was completed and forwarded to the office of the mayor. The assessor downstairs found it fit that since there was no other applications on file except mine, that she would call the former assessor, Dimo Angelopoulos, and have him fill out an application and tell him that if he did, he would get the job over me. And furthermore, when he got the job, he wasn't even interviewed by Mr. Betancourt or Stacy Gold, the two people who usually do the interviews for this job. Now, I called and I wanted an ethics complaint filed by the city manager and the mayor, who I called several times against the assessor downstairs, and it wasn't done. Wasn't done. This is an ethics problem with her doing what she did against me. Okay, and then you want people to come here and do things for the city of Norwich when you get treated like this? Okay? I did a good job when I did that job. And I answered the phones during a pandemic for over an hour with Bill sitting right next to me. You can ask him if I did a good job or not. You got a 90-year-old man sitting there with me who doesn't know nothing about assessment appeals that you keep electing time and time again. You got another person there who knows nothing about assessment appeals, but you hire them whether they're Democrats or independents. I didn't see any Republicans on that last commission, okay? But this is wrong. This is wrong to do this and to operate this way, okay? So I don't know what this is if this means that you're looking for another member for the Board of Assessment Appeals or someone's leaving or whatever. But the reason you got rid of Dimo Angelopoulos in the first place is because there was all kinds of complaints made against him for the way he was speaking to the people and the way he was treating them on a telephone. There was no complaints made against me. In fact, in the rules, when they say they can get a 10-minute phone call to talk to us, they can have all the time they want with me. They pay taxes in this city, and they should be treated with respect. Every single one of them. Not the way those two people downstairs speak to these taxpayers, whether it be in the office or on the telephone. And I heard it firsthand, so I don't have to take it hearsay, okay? But if you want me to do things for the city, and you ask me to do things for the city, and I come here and be interviewed by you, Mr. Betancourt, and you, Stacy Gold, don't turn around and treat me like a piece of garbage afterwards. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Ursula Chappelle. I live at 161 Cliff Street in Norwich. And I didn't plan on coming up here, but I'd like to say personally, I come from a family of veterans. My family descended from Bermuda, the Knowles family, Bahamas, and the Joel family from Bermuda. And my great-grandparents are also Native American. My great-grandmother bought the house on 575 New London Turnpike in 1974, and she was welcomed into the neighborhood with a burning cross on her front lawn. I work in healthcare. I work at Bacchus Hospital. I have been frontline with COVID. I have been frontline with mental crisis in New London Hospital and critical crisis. I have seen how each and every person, whether they're a sailor, whether they're a minority, whether they're a woman or a man, is treated. When I came in here tonight, I didn't know what to expect. And as I'm sitting here, I'm having the same feeling that I have when I'm at work and I'm dealing with someone saying, "Can I touch your hair? Is that your real hair?" When I came back from Africa, how I felt, did I have a bone in my nose, Excuse me for saying that. What I'm trying to say is, I chose to come back to Norwich because my family is here. I went to a bigger city where the diversity and the cultures, you welcomed and you respected each other. Whether I'm at work or whether I'm in a grocery store, I get questions. and healthcare as a patient, I'm educating my doctor on what I need and how I need to be evaluated. We have so much now offering, through the websites, internet, to educate each and every one of us on everybody's culture. You can sit down and talk to somebody, you can go to the library, and you can also surf through the web. When you're speaking to someone, evaluating them as a patient or as a customer, I'm tired of saying treat somebody how you want to be treated, because you may not treat yourself good. But I'm going to treat you better than I treat myself, because I want you to walk away from me with a great experience, not just for my person, but for yourself, because I don't know what you deal with when you go home. I vote yes, and I ask you to vote yes on this systematic racism being a public health crisis, because it is. I should not have to go to work covering my hair. I should not have to go to work asking somebody, can they touch my hair? And when I do cover my hair, ask me, do I have underwear on my hair? Okay, I'm going to work to take care of people. So I should be feeling great. I should be feeling respected. I should be feeling welcomed. Because when you come to me as a patient, I'm going to treat you with dignity and respect. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Hello again. My name is Augustus Wortham Jr., and I live at 575 Boswell Ave. The main reason why I came today, because today I turned 64. And it was important for me to be here today. See, one of the things that you guys may not understand is that when you look around these walls, you're not going to see me. When I served with these men, they didn't see me. It was only after time spent staring at death that they saw me, that they understood that I cared for their lives. From the age of 5, I watched people's despair and hopelessness fall from their face because of the wrong that was being done. I'm not going to stand here and talk to you about politics. I want to talk to you about being right, doing the right thing. That's all it comes down to. Policies and politics has nothing to do with doing the right thing. Yes, racism has had an adverse effect on my life, my parents' life, my kids' life, and it will have an adverse effect on my grandkids. But I'm not talking to the country, I'm talking to the people who watch over my home. Whatever happens in Minneapolis or whatever, I hope they fix that. But my main concern is where I live. I don't have a problem with Norwich PD. I sit with them every week, so I know them firsthand. Yes, I've had bad experiences, but I've learned to forgive. But don't ever think I forgot. Fix this. Not for me, but everybody that's coming behind you. Because there is someone coming behind you. Whether it be your offspring or a family member. Fix it for them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, yes. Good evening. Some of you know me, some of you don't. My name is Robin Vilches. I live in Norwich. I grew up in Norwich. I'm not originally a native of Norwich. And kudos to see a black man in your seat and a woman of ethnic background. Kudos to you guys. However, I'm here to hold each and every one of you responsible for not doing what you vowed to get in your position to do. You give all these good shots out there saying, vote for me, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this. Now I'm going to hold each and every one of you accountable for what you said that you were going to do when you wanted to get in the position you are in now. Trust that. Do right by the people of Norwich, the black and brown people of Norwich. The systemic racism has to stop here, because every last one of you are replaceable. Voting is a strong thing. And you will see my face again. Trust that. And this is not a threat. It is a promise. Get it right, Norwich, because I see other surrounding cities doing far more than what we're doing. The infrastructure here is ridiculous. But that is also part of systemic racism. It's time for the good old boys to get on down. Sit down somewhere if you're not doing your job. And I mean that. Sit down. Because this will not be the last time you know who I am. Do your jobs. That's why you're here.
Thank you.
Good evening again. Lawrence Lazat, 1 Watercress Ave, Norwich. Thanks for having me up again. I wasn't expecting to speak the first time, let alone the second time, but I would like to speak in favor of passage of this resolution declaring racism an emergency. My family background is that my father's French-Canadian and my mother was German-Dutch. I could not get much whiter if you ran me over with a snowplow. That said, when I was 8, my first crush was on a reverend's daughter, because apparently I liked a challenge at 8. My father wouldn't even let me give her a flower I had just stolen because she was black. My father was a Vietnam veteran. The anniversary of his passing is coming up in a couple of weeks. He was also a monstrous racist. He used words on a daily basis that I hesitate to think, let alone say out loud in the presence of civilized people. Racism and income equality are a two-headed monster that feed each other. But racism is absolutely 100% a problem. And to vote against this resolution, I think, is tantamount to just getting in your car and screaming the N-word the rest of the way home. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Sheila Hayes, and I am speaking to you tonight as the president of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the Norwich branch. So the address I am using is 66 Franklin Street. That is the address of our office. Good evening, Mayor Nystrom, President Pro Tem Mark Betancourt, and to the rest of the City Council members. I stand before you in support of resolutions number 5 and resolution number 6. Resolution number 5 is to appoint a Sean Event to the Board of Public Utilities. Mr. Event is a resident of the city of Norwich, an entrepreneur. He has a business located in the Foundry 66 building behind it. He started there as a startup business when it opened. He's an educator, and he is actively involved with the youth and in the community. I want to thank President Pro Tem Mark Betancourt and Alderwoman Miles for sponsoring this resolution. With respect to resolution number 6, I will be applying the Rotary 4-way test. First question, is it the truth Yes, racism is a public health crisis in the city of Norwich. That is the truth. Is it fair to all concerned? Yes, this resolution is fair to all the residents, as it speaks about racial justices and how to produce equitable outcomes for all people of all races. It is fair to all concerned. Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Yes. By developing strategies to dismantle systemic racism and engaging historically marginalized communities in identifying problems and solutions. This will build goodwill and better friendships for the residents of the city of Norwich. Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Yes, it will. With the development of a Norwich Health Equity Plan with objectives, measurable goals, accessibility, and transparency, this will be beneficial to all concerned. In closing, I'm asking you to support resolutions, and I will add resolutions 2, 3, 5, and 6. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, sir.
My name is Benjamin Green. I live at 99 Hunters Ave. I stand here before this council as the newly appointed pastor of the Evans Memorial African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church, 2 McKinley Avenue. I came here tonight in support of Resolution 6. You know, I am a 61-year-old black man in America that has weathered a lot of storms to even get to this age to be able to stand here. And it pains me that I have to work with young black African-American men to teach them how to deal with situations that if they don't learn how to deal with it, they die. And it is also painful that we have to adopt a resolution to take care of a problem that we should have adopted a long time ago. I came here tonight because I am a part of Norwich and I'm going to be a voice in Norwich. And as I speak my voice for people whose voices you don't hear, I ask that we set a precedence here in the city of Norwich. We start something that may trickle down into other societies, other cities, other states by doing the right thing for the right reason, which is the right time, which is a time called now. It is important that we come together because we are already being torn apart by so many other things that are out of our control. But this is one thing that we can do something about to bring some cohesiveness and some togetherness and some unity into our city. So I ask you, do the right thing. Vote for this resolution.
Thank you, sir, and welcome. Anyone else like to speak? Please.
Good evening. Thank you for your service and thank you for your service. Thank you for this. My name is Linda Fouché, 65 William Street, 71 years old, 22 years was a Navy wife, and I am here on behalf of my 2 biracial grandchildren. My grandson is 28, and we had to give him the talk when he was younger. My granddaughter is 18, and I'm here so that they don't have to be at this lectern in 25 years. Do it now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to the council, please?
Good evening. Thank you again. Robert Bell, 122 Broadway. Last year, my grandfather was on his deathbed, passed away, 99 years old. I hadn't seen him since I was 10 years old. I went down to Texas to go and, visit the family and see him on his way out. They had a scrapbook of his life there, and it had his grandfather and his family, baby pictures, all that sorts of things. As I'm coming through this, I see a receipt for taxes paid on 2 slaves that my great-grandfather owned, and that hurt me to the core. My own father, growing up in elementary school, there were 3 times I got into a fight at school, and I came home with a note, and he asked me, were they black? And one time it was, and it was okay because I got into a fight with a black guy. And but where my father screwed up is we were being raised in an all-black neighborhood. I was one of 3 white kids in my elementary school. So luckily for me, one of the things that helped me progress away from my family's racist history was that I got to spend time with people of color and actually got to grow with them and learn all about them and interact with them rather than only having the influence of my racist father. He passed many, many years ago. But it was mentioned that we're kind of like backsliding, but in reality, in some instances, yes, we do, but we are in a progression. We've got a great city here with, Rose City United, who's bringing the community together with our Norwich Police, what LaShawn does with her dance groups, and we have a wonderful thing. And, from my own personal racist family history, it stopped with me. And, my daughter will never have any kind of racist upbringing. Luckily, it did stop with me, stopped with my brother. So we are progressing in life and as a country. And so in support of resolution number 6, it is a progression forward as well. Thank you for letting me speak, and y'all have a wonderful evening. Vote yes.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Tracy Berto. I've come just to give my support for Article 6. I come from a blended family. My mother is Italian and Native American, and my stepfather is a man of color, 72, also a Vietnam vet. So I think everybody needs to do the right thing and pass Amendment 6, please.
Thank you.
And Gregory Perry, 287 Harlan Road. And howdy, y'all. I encourage you to vote yes for the resolution, and not so much to do it as an effort to help me or any other black folk around, because we'll be all right. But I invite you and encourage you to vote in support of it for yourself, because while I and Black America will be all right, regardless of the circumstances that we're dealing with, because we'll be okay. Folk who do not do the right thing, and that's been said often, will live to regret and rue that occasion when you had a chance to stand up and do something that is right, and for whatever reason, you did not. And so, very simply and succinctly, I would invite you and encourage you to vote in support of that, and not for me, or other black folk, we'll be all right, but for yourself.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to speak to the resolutions on the agenda, please?
Hello to all. Again, my name is Malloy Perkins, 136 West Ames Street, Norwich, Connecticut. When I came here today, I didn't know all this was going to be on the agenda. I came just because I seen an article in the paper. And when I seen the article in the paper about the Habitat for Humanity, and I didn't know who the mayor was, actually, but the Habitat for Humanity getting this big deal from the mayor, I said to myself, that sounds like systematic racism. And then I come here, and that's what the whole thing's about today, systematic racism. So I do want to support, number 6. I support it a whole 100%. I do believe that we should also make the right decision as far as that youth center. Norwich needs that in a terrible way. And that would be, like a right foot forward if we got that. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak again to any resolutions on the agenda, please? Again, please state your name and address for the public record.
Good evening. My name is Tahara Matthews. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight. I'm a resident of Norwich, Connecticut, 120 Elizabeth Street. My family roots are from the South. We migrated here. Actually, my family's from Mississippi. My father was in the military, and we ended up here in Connecticut for years. I've been here almost 50 years. I just want to see this bill passed. I've seen a lot of experiences myself, within my family, within my friends. Experienced different racial experiences. 2012, my cousin came back from the military and was murdered by a police officer. I know it was not in Norwich, Connecticut. However, he was in a dispute with his girlfriend, and he had been on tour. He had did like 2 tours and came back and was murdered. He was having a dispute with his Caucasian girlfriend, and the police officers just immediately shot him and killed him, right? Like the day after he got back from the military. I just, I'm in support of this bill, and I'm just asking if you all would pass this bill. I've seen things here in Norwich. Like I said, I've been here in this city for almost 15 years now. Coming from a family from the South, I've seen so much. And just, I just want to say, please pass this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Mark Koulos, 327 Broadway, Norwich. First of all, I'd like to support resolutions 1 through 5. These people who are volunteering on the boards and commissions, they do the real grunt work of the city business, and they're volunteers, and anyone who steps forward to be appointed or reappointed, they should be and should be honored. As far as Resolution 6 goes, I fully support it. The only thing I don't support is the fact that it's called racism. Being racist or racism assumes that we are people of different races. We are not. Homo sapiens sapiens is one race. We are all of one race. There is discrimination, a brutal history of discrimination based on the amount of melanin in your skin. That has to stop. And I believe the word racist or racism maintains in people's minds that there are various races throughout the history of man. There is not. We are one race. And just remember, you've put these words down on paper, but this is only the first step of a marathon. What really has to happen is to turn those words into action. And until those words are fully implemented and turned into action, they're meaningless. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Adam Bowles. I live on 14 Barber Farm Road in Lisbon. Pastor here of Castle Church right downtown for Broadway. And I just want you to know that it's not an academic conversation for us about the racial disparities. Our black brothers and sisters in our church are having conversations about the disparities that absolutely exist. They're heartbreaking to hear. It's a long process of learning, and I think learning is part of how we love one another, to put ourselves in other people's shoes. And I'm thinking tonight, as I hear some inspiring, moving stories about the story of the Good Samaritan, and in that story, two people passed by the person who needed the bandages, and people passed by because of the bigotry. And somewhere along the way, there's got to be a generation that says, no more passing by. And this is where it stops. And this is where we start addressing the issues that stand before us. And so I'm inspired by my brothers and sisters here and stand in support with them. Thank you.
Thank you. We welcome any other further comments if anyone has not addressed the council on resolutions on the agenda. Would anyone else like to address the city council at this time?
Larry Rice, Well Road, Norwich.
Excuse me, you spoke during citizen
want to
comment
speak?
on the agenda already.
Can you speak a second time or no?
Only with leave of the council. We haven't done that in the past.
You have done it once before at one of your meetings.
Uh,
You let people come up a second time for 3 minutes.
At
I was here for
at
that.
the end, yes, if everyone else had had their first shot, that is correct.
Okay, I didn't know if anybody else was coming up. It didn't look it. That's why.
Well, just let me go through my procedures, and then you're certainly welcome to come back. Again, would anyone else like to speak who has not spoken on citizen comment on the resolutions? Again, if anyone has not had a chance, if you'd like to address the council, we welcome your comments this evening. Third time, if anyone has not had an opportunity, you'd like to address the council, again, we welcome you now. Okay, Mr. Rice?
Larry Rice, 41 Will Road, Norwich. Regarding Resolution 6. That language just relative to racism as a public health crisis in the city of Norwich. So what that line says is that we definitely have that problem in Norwich. So my question would be, has this existed for just for the last week or two, or has this been going on for the last 5 or 10 years, or has this been for the last 100 years that we've had this problem of racism in the city of Norwich? And where's the facts on what the racism is? Is it not enough non-white people being hired in city jobs? I'd like to, where is all of this stuff coming from? And who did it come from? This started in, of course, the big cities, Democrat cities mostly, Seattle, Portland, California, and all the other big cities with this stuff. And now it found its way to Norwich, all of a sudden. So I would just like more facts instead of just putting one line on here that we have racism. I don't disagree that we have some, like that last gentleman said, that we have some problems in this country, and probably in Norwich also, but not racism. I don't believe we have systemic racism in this country, okay? And I want to tell you one little story before I leave. This 21-year-old black boy who was living in New York City just 3 months ago, was in prison, got out, made his way to Norwich. He's not working, couldn't find a place to live. He was on the street, and guess where he is now? I took him in. He's with me. He's going to stay with me, and I'm going to teach him the right things until he can go out on the street and be on his own without being arrested by the police. Okay? So I don't like people being put in groups like everybody is a racist. Okay? You got racists out there, but you don't have a group of racists that cannot stand non-white people. Okay? It's not founded. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
So this is Robin again. And comments like black boy is a statement that should not be made. Comments like that is bigotry. Sir. So what I am saying is that we got to change this. Comments like that is unacceptable. And I just want to say that my father too served in the military, and he was one of the first African-American firefighters in Norwich, Connecticut. So we do have history here. Okay, and what I do want to say is that I challenged you because it starts even when the kids are younger. I challenged you years ago, Mayor Nystrom, about shutting down the Greenville School, where schools of minority ethnic backgrounds were full, engaged with their students and with their teachers and with their children. But we managed to tear that school down in a neighborhood that would have been thriving. These are the things that has to stop. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. And when we get comfortable with just calling African Americans black boys, and we're okay with that, it shows who we are. We're complacent. We're stagnant. It has to stop. I will check every last one of your statements in getting in your position. And it's not just you, the city manager. I'm missing two. Everyone should have been here tonight. This is unacceptable. 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 And if you can't go home and look at yourself in the mirror, probably you could. But look at the people that you're impacting here. You're in your homes going to sleep at night. And I deal in the trenches of people who cannot afford to have a meal for the next day for their children. I'm in the ditches. I'm in the trenches with these people. Enough is enough. Community health crisis is enough. Bigotry has to stop. And that black boy probably had a name. He should have just named him. My time is up.
Thank you.
Ursula Chappelle. I'm looking around on the walls here. I don't see anyone of color. My cousin had an emergency C-section. She had to go to Bacchus Hospital and the labor and delivery floor for a stress test. I came up to visit her. There were no children of color on that wall. She told me they were going to take her to Hartford Hospital. I said, that's great. The reason why I said it was great was because I felt she would get quality health care, better attention towards herself and treatment Even though I work at Bacchus, I felt as though she would be better off at Hartford Hospital for a reason. There was a woman up earlier who said she did not want to be a mother of a, I don't call us black, but she did not want to be a mother of one of our boys. I have 2 sons. One's 32 and one's 18. During COVID, we had a curfew, I believe, where we had to be home at a certain time. My son, sometimes he can't sleep. In the middle of the night, I don't know why, he was riding his bike, you know, around Norwich. And he called me and said, "Mom, coming home," because I forgot why he said, but he said he was wearing his mask, he was driving up by CVS, rode his bike back down. When I was a child, we walked around all night in New London, no problem. I said, "You need to get home now." I said, "What, you know, this 2 o'clock, 12 o'clock, whatever time it was, it's late, get home." He said, "Why?" I said, "Just get home." I was afraid for my son. When my 32-year-old gets pulled over, I'm afraid for him. I shouldn't be afraid. I taught my sons, keep your registration and your license and everything like up front, like near your window, so you don't have to reach over to grab it. And when you call, and when somebody pulls you over, FaceTime me. Keep me on the phone. In Norwich, I have not had a problem for my sons. Thank you. I don't know if anyone else has had a problem, but I do want to say this. I don't want the problem to come here. In stores, a woman checked my $5 bill, held it up to the light to make sure. I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Don't they have markers where you can discreetly pull it to the side and try to, you know, see if it's counterfeit or anything? Because right now you're embarrassing me and my daughter." I stood in the lobby and waited as she got other customers to see if she did the same thing. Eventually I left and I wrote an email, because they always ask you about your experience, and I wrote my experience. I was given I apologize, we had counterfeit $5 bills, I guess in Lisbon, Kohl's. She should have done, you know, exactly what you said, discreetly done it, and we'll offer you a 25% off. I don't want 25%. I don't want a discount. I want to know when I come in the store and I'm spending my money, you're going to treat me the same way you treat everybody else. When I'm in a hospital, I want to see, when I'm in this office, I want to see people who are diverse. I want to see people who are here in this city. My daughter was thinking about, you know, applying for the police department. I told her, you know, not at this time, just wait a little while. Someone there actually talked to her and they encouraged her, you know, to do so. My son-in-law wants to apply for the police department. I think right now is, I'm not going to say not a good time, but right now is not a good time. For my children, there is nothing to do. I take them out of the city to do things. When I was a child, we had the Martin Luther King Center, there was the YMCA. For my older children, for my younger children, there is nothing. People say, "Why did you come back here?" I said, "Because of family." But being a homeowner and being a taxpayer, I hope, and I will start coming to more of these meetings and being more involved, that we do bring something back, because we shouldn't have to go to Mystic for the YMCA. We should have a Boys and Girls Club here. We should have a community center. Our children should be together. We should learn how to treat each other, you know, with respect. And learn other cultures and just respect them and not worry about calling somebody boy or sir. Call us by our names. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, is there anyone else who hasn't had a chance to speak?
Marvin Ceruto, 100 Star Street, Norwich, Connecticut, the United States of America, and it is a republic. And I'm looking at a council that's really changed a lot over the last couple hours. And I'm going to embarrass my girlfriend, Patricia, here. She was a maternity nurse for 42 years. And I tried to figure out how many babies she had. It's about 20,000. Let me ask you, Patricia, did you ever turn down a baby? Not once. I served on submarines. I love to tell sub-stories. You know what? When you're in a submarine, your ass is grass. And you got your family, and they come from all over the world. So I've proven myself. Just like I said with my father, German steel, in the grave. My brother, Bronze Star, Vietnam. You know what? Change the language to number 6. The language is not right. It really insults me because I busted my butt for 63 years, proving myself for my fellow citizens. And I don't want that. I don't want that language. Put something in there that says citizenship. That would be nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else, again, who may not have had a chance to speak and has changed their mind who would like to?
Hello. Sarah Faman Flores, 109 Sachem Street, Norwich. I'm a future educator. Unfortunately, I won't be in Norwich, but I'll be in Ledyard. And I can tell you I'm in a program right now to increase diversity in our school systems. It's a program that Norwich is doing, New London, Groton, Ledyard, Stonington, and this is supposed to be a proactive program. I can tell you just from the coursework that I've been doing the past 5 weeks, there is definitely economic disparities in our communities. And if the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it. If you're not racist, we're not calling everyone racist, but there are things that are in our institutions and it's systematic. To deny that, it's ignorant. I really do support Article 6. I think that it's something that we need to be doing just to change our future. I'm speaking for the students I had here at Huntington Elementary and the students I will have. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the council?
LaShawn Cunningham, and I reside at 575 Boswell Avenue. I just want to say that I too would like for you to vote on passing racism as a public health crisis here in the city of Norwich, but I am begging you that hopefully that you do pass this bill, that you do not change the wording and you keep it, because we're calling it what it is, and racism as a public health crisis here in the city of Norwich. Please do not change the wording on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, would anyone like to speak to the council?
Good evening. Carlene Shamels, 19 Jordan Drive. I'm a little tired, and I know you guys are all tired as well, so I'm going to keep this really brief. You've all heard the facts about how racism has created inequalities in our city as well as in the nation. And I just want to quickly reiterate that this resolution will not only benefit BIPOC individuals, but it will benefit all races in our city. So I strongly ask you guys to support Resolution 6 to declare racism as a public health crisis in the city of Norwich. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, is there anyone else who'd like to speak to council at this time on the resolutions on the agenda? Would anyone else like to speak again at this time?
My name is Erica Brand of 35 Quarter Road. I want to speak in favor of number 6. So something that I actually just started, I started doing years ago because I would be followed around in stores. And it'd be very obvious. So I stopped bringing my purse into stores. And now it's just a conscious thing that I only grab my wallet when I go into stores to lessen the chance of being followed. So that was more in response to Larry Rice, who thinks it doesn't exist or it just came up. It's very real, and yeah, it's real in Norwich, and I think you should vote in favor of 6.
Thank you. Anyone like to speak to the council who hasn't? Again, I recognize some people who have not spoken. If you'd like to, this is your opportunity.
Hello, my name is Kendrick Amy. Lived on 160 Acre Street for about 21 years of my life. And I just want to speak in favor of Resolution 6 as a young black male living in America today and a young black male living in Norwich. Honestly, it's a very uncomfortable topic and I'm sick of it. I'll call it racism, bigotry, discrimination. It's all the same, but it starts with you guys. It starts with us, but it starts with you guys because at the end of the time, it starts somewhere. There hasn't been anything much really to change it. We've been backsliding. Listen to all these stories, we've been backsliding. Nothing's really been done. We've had small progresses. Bills have been passed, but we're starting this marathon. We're just walking it. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Again, someone who's not had a chance to speak, we welcome your comments. Again, if you haven't had a chance to speak, we welcome your comments. Again, we welcome your comments if you haven't had a chance to speak. Okay, thank you all for sharing all your concerns. We appreciate your comments. I believe we've all listened to all of them. Take them to heart. Thank you very much. I declare this portion of the council agenda then closed.
New business resolutions. Number 1, relative to the reappointment of the city historian.
At this time, I'd ask for a motion, please, to bring this forward. Alderwoman Stacey Gould, second, Alderwoman Ella Miles. Is there discussion? Just for the record, our city historian has served this city well over 30 years. He worked very, very hard at his job in helping to promote the history of the city. Some of that is clearly reflected in our expression of support for our history, like we had the Samuel Huntington program this past Saturday on his 290th birthday. So I'd like to thank him publicly for all his years of service to this community at this time. Could we have a roll call, please?
Alderman DeLucia?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miles?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gold?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
6-0.
Motion passes 6-0.
Number 2, relative to a reappointment and an appointment of irregular members to the Commission on the City Plan.
Entertain a motion, please. Alderman Wilson, second by President Pro Tem Mark Bettencourt. Is there discussion? For members of the public, the person being appointed as a continued or reappointed member of the Commission on the City Plan is Frank Manfredi, and the second appointment is elevating Swaranjit Singh Bhatia, who is an alternate member to a full member of the Commission on the City Plan at this time. Roll call, please.
Alderman DeLucia?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miles?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
It's 6-0.
Motion passes 6-0.
Number 3, relative to a reappointment and appointments of regular members and alternate members to the Personnel and Pension Board.
Thank you. At this time, I entertain a motion, please, to bring this to the floor. Alderwoman Ella Miles, second, please. Alderwoman Stacy Gould. Is there discussion? For members of the public, there are 3 people being appointed or reappointed here. Paul Schroeder is being reappointed to the Personnel and Pension Board. Richard Maroli is being appointed as a regular member of the Personnel and Pension Board. And Francis Gavigan is being appointed as an alternate member to the Personnel and Pension Board. Roll call, please.
Alderman DeLucia?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miles?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
That's 6-0.
Motion passes 6-0.
Number 4, relative to the reappointment of a member of the Board of Assessment Appeals.
Motion, please, bring it forward. Alderwoman Ella Miles, second. Alderman Wilson. Is there discussion? Again, for the members of the public, the gentleman being reappointed is Mr. Dennis Riley.
Alderman
Please.
DeLucia?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miles?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
That's 6-0.
Motion passes 6-0.
Number 5, relative to an appointment of a regular member to the Board of Public Utility Commissioners Sewer Authority.
Motion, please. Alderman Wilson, second. Alderwoman Ella Miles. Is there discussion? For members of the public, Ashton Advent is being appointed as a regular board member of the Norwich Public Utilities, and I personally was happy to co-sponsor this as well. I consider him a friend, and he worked very hard at his business. Roll call, please.
Alderman DeLucia?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miles?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Absolutely yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
That's 6-0.
Motion passes 6-0.
Number 6, relative to racism as a public health crisis in the city of Norwich.
Motion, please. Alderman Wilson, second. Alderwoman Ella Miles. Is there discussion? Alderman Wilson.
I would like to offer up an amendment in the 6 whereas, I believe it is. I would like the whereas to read at the beginning, whereas in the long term, comma, agencies, boards, committees, and commissions of the city government must remit to addressing the impact that racism has on the lives of all of our neighbors and how it impacts the overall health of our city. So I'm adding in the long term in the beginning.
Thank you. Is there a second, please? President Pro Tem Mark Bettencourt. Is there discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor? I'm sorry, the corporate counsel would prefer a roll call on the amendment?
Absolutely.
Alderman DeLucia?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miles?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
6-0.
The amendment passes 6-0. On the resolution as amended, is there further discussion? We're not done yet. Alderman Wilson.
Good evening, everyone. Before you is a resolution that impacts and benefits all residents in the city of Norwich.
COVID-19 put the entire world on hold. With that being many unknowns in its initial stages of this pandemic, it crippled society. It has had profound impacts on everyone's health economically, socially, educationally, technologically, physically, and mentally. Being an elected city official, I've had the chance to see how this pandemic revealed and impacted the large racial equity gap that exists within our communities and across this country. Many of these issues addressed in this resolution have existed for decades before this pandemic, but in 2020 were exposed as we work to control and navigate a pandemic. This resolution allows us to start addressing disparities that have existed for decades within our city government, stakeholders, and who we do business with. Since 2006, when I served as the Norwich NAACP Robin C. Duncan Youth Council President, the Diversity Committee of the city was tasked with many of these areas of disparity, and some were addressed in part or were part of initial conversations. But many of the initiatives were never implemented here in the city. This is why this current resolution is written to include elected and appointed officials to be a part of this process as department heads, as well as department heads across the city departments. I stated back in the summer of 2020 that I planned on addressing these issues as we started to navigate this pandemic better. We must take the step back and acknowledge that systemic racism does exist and vow to make sure that we work to make sure Norwich reflects the diverse and cultural ethnicities and improve the health and the well-being of all its residents. To make Norwich more reflective of its diverse culture and ethnicities, with respect to any of the necessary funding over the next 2 years to implement any of these 13 action items, I implore, and this is exactly what the American Rescue Plan money should be used for. And so, as an alderman, I'm imploring my fellow colleagues to allocate the money out of the American Rescue Fund for this fiscal year and next fiscal year to address or cover any additional costs that this work may impact or have impact on the general fund or general budget, essentially not causing any impact to the taxpayer. This work may seem bold, but it is necessary to get Norwich where it should be. And I'll end with this, and I want my colleagues to keep this in mind, that you can't put a price tag or a dollar amount on oppression, systemic racism, and accessibility, but you can put a price tag on accountability and honesty. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there further discussion, please? Yes, President Pro Tem, please.
So my background is, I will tell you, I worked in a profession that served 80% of a non-white population, and that's in the prison system. So that was, that in itself should be a huge eye-opener that that in some way, socio and economically, there are disadvantaged people that put, that many people in that kind of situation that they wound up being incarcerated. Sure, they might have made some poor choices, but a lot of people really had no choices, and that's what part of this I think is about. So, I've always said the local government is kind of where the rubber hits the road, and that's where this I think this resolution comes from, and I'd like to applaud Alderman Wilson for pushing this along. I would have to say it's a long time coming. I'm fully supportive of it. I will certainly vote for it, and I think his suggestion regarding ARP funds is a way of covering any potential costs is a good thing, and I'd like to see this move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there further discussion, please? Yes, Alderwoman Ella Miles.
I just want to say, personally, I am in support of this resolution. Sitting up here as an alderwoman, I am the first Native American ever elected to a city council position in the history of this city. So that Systemic racism, unfortunately, it is an issue. It is an issue here in Norwich. I take my elderly mother shopping, and yep, she's followed around the store. I don't know what a 72-year-old woman is going to steal from, the Norwich Walmart, but yep, they follow her religiously. I've watched my sons be denied jobs. I've been denied rental housing, and this is all within the last 6 or 7 years. So it is an issue. Some folks may not see it as an issue, but you don't sit on the side of the table that I do. So I am in support of this. We need to make Norwich the city that we all want it to be. So I am supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Yes, Alderman DeLucia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hesitated because usually when I hesitate, it's an invitation for me not to speak, but I'm just not going to do that tonight. I just want to address two things that were raised at the podium tonight with regard to this resolution. First was references to the military, and we heard about service in World War II. Well, a black man serving in World War II would be in a segregated unit and was not very likely to see any first-line combat duty. We heard a reference about Vietnam. The gentleman sitting in the back is clearly a Vietnam vet and wears it proudly. But at the time of his induction, he was 3 times more likely to be sent overseas to Southeast Asia for combat than his white counterparts who were inducted at the same time. And while our government and our military has made great strides, and just in the time that I've been an adult, we can't ignore the fact that racism does exist. That's not to say that everyone in a certain demographic group is a racist. It's just to say that we recognize that it exists and it's pervasive, and it is sometimes silent and unspoken, but it is there. And we know it, and this resolution addresses that with a clear action plan for this city. And as Pro Tem Betancourt said, I echo my admiration for Alderman Wilson to take up this mantle and put this initiative forward and to move this city in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Alderman Gould.
So I will also be in support of resolution number 6. My family came here in 1904, running from Tsarist Russia. We came from White Russia, running from pogroms. Lived on Spring Street, which was on the west side. It doesn't exist anymore. It was redeveloped. But that's where my family lived, on Spring Street. My father served in Korea. And I'm sorry that racism exists in Norwich. I grew up here. I went to school here. I lived in a home that didn't see color. We never discussed that I couldn't have this friend over or that friend over, or couldn't go to somebody's party, birthday party, because they looked different than I looked, or they looked different from me. That didn't happen in my household. But we had a history of being discriminated against because we were Russian Jews. I'm sorry that the healthcare system has let down people who don't look like me. And we need to hold the healthcare system accountable. And I hope this will be the start. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? If not, I would like to offer an amendment. This amendment would go at the end of the resolution as amended now. It changes nothing in the original context, including the amendment offered and we passed, that was offered by Alderman Wilson. It's simply an attempt to move this forward, this effort a little quicker. I noted that in the resolution, it talks about stakeholders, but nowhere in the document it talked about how to move that forward sooner. And so it asked that we actually adopt a health equity committee here in the city of Norwich. It names a number of stakeholders in the language. And I would ask for a motion, please, to put this on the floor, and then ask that the city clerk read it so that everyone here in the audience can hear the language. Motion by Alderman Wilson, second by Alderwoman Gould. If the city clerk would please read the language.
Amendment to Resolution Number 6. Whereas it is in our best interest to foster health equity throughout the entire city of Norwich and its residents. Whereas the City Council of Norwich wishes to reaffirm its declaration of racism as a public health crisis. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the City of Norwich wishes to appoint a health equity committee which shall include but not be limited to the office of the city manager, representatives of the Norwich Department of Human Services, the Uncas Health District, the Norwich Police Department, the Human Resource Department, the Community and Family Services, Rose City United, and Generations. And be it further resolved that said Health Equity Committee shall also include members of the general public and any stakeholders who wish to participate, so that those charged with achieving the goals have had a chance to buy in to the concepts and participate early in this valiant effort. Interested stakeholders may include members of the Norwich City Council. Mayor Peter Albert Nystrom, Alderwoman Stacey Gould, Alderman William Nash.
Thank you. And it was pointed out to me when I handed this out today that I should have listed Hartford Healthcare. The language does allow them to be included as any stakeholders, but certainly I want that on the public record that we need their support as well to make this happen. And I would invite comment at this time. Alderman Wilson?
Can I add, I just would like maybe a friendly amendment to the amendment to add the Norwich branch of the NAACP to the stakeholders in the resolution. And the reason being is they have been doing this work with the city probably the longest of all organizations, going back to the early 2000s. As I stated when I served with the 2 iterations of the Diversity Committee, and even before that, and it would be remiss if they weren't stated as one of the key stakeholders in this work, as they've worked with many of these stakeholders to get them where they are today too as well.
Thank you. I certainly consider that very helpful and support that. Alderman DeLucia.
So, not to get hung up on procedure or syntax, but the motion for this amendment has been made and seconded. I don't understand why the 3 of your names appear on the bottom unless you are intending to become co-sponsors of the original action.
Correct. So are you co-sponsoring this action? Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. And to the body of the work, well, again, on procedure and format, all right, we already have a now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Norwich paragraph. So at some point, this amendment, I don't know if that second now therefore ... need to be changed to be it further resolved, and then you actually have 2 be it further resolves in here. it may not matter.
That would be accepted as a friendly amendment if you so wished it to be considered. And the
then-
corporate counsel can help to clarify the order of the language.
Yeah, that's fine. So my most pressing concern with this amendment is in that main body of that paragraph, after where it says in the body, be it further resolved, that said Health Equity Committee, ... When you get down to line 8, all right, so shall also include members of the general public and any stakeholders who wish to participate. And that's the point at which I have a bit of a concern. So that those charged with achieving the goals have had a chance to buy into the concept. So when you introduced this amendment, you said that was the intention was to expedite, okay? Having the chance to buy in, I'm sorry, but the phrase buy in means delay to me. It means stall, okay? And that may not be the intention, but that's what it says to me. I think I understand where you're trying to go with this. I just don't like that phrase. The resolution provides a roadmap, 13 points that this council, if we adopt this resolution, says we want done. Okay, there's no honeymoon. All right, there is no time to buy in and think about it and so on and so forth. We are saying to staff, we are saying to all the stakeholders, get to work. That's right. And get to work tomorrow, not after we've had a chance to think it over. So that's the issue I have with the phrase buy-in, even though that may not be your intention, Mr. Mayor. That's what it says to me. I'm concerned that that's what it might say to some people who are involved, and more importantly, what it might say to people in a community. So I would ask that maybe we put a period at the end of participate and strike so that those charged with achieving goals had a chance to buy in, so on and so forth, all the way up to the end of that sentence, and then just pick it up with the interested stakeholders may include members of the Norwich City Council.
Do you invite comment, Alderman DeLucia?
Is that a motion?
Is that a question?
Yes, I'll put that forward as a motion. Yeah, I would like to make that amendment to this amendment.
I'm just going to treat them, I'll second it.
Was that previous? That's fine. Yep. Okay. All right, that's accepted.
Is there a second? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we need to vote on that motion at this time that Alderman DeLucia made. Any discussion on that? Okay, could we have a vote, please?
Alderman DeLucia?
Yes?
Alderman Miles?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
It's 6-0.
The amendment passes 6-0. On the amendment offered to Resolution 6 as amended, is there further discussion? I would like to comment briefly. Joe had some concerns. That language actually came from a department head in the city of Norwich recently, and that's how it got into this amendment. It's offered really in truth to acknowledge and recognize the hard work of groups like Rose City United, who have been doing a lot of the lifting for the last year and a half, as well as our community police officers. And it was also included, from my perspective, is that having people get engaged in the work, they gain ownership of the results of the product. And that's really what it's a reference to. It's not intended to delay. It's intended actually to speed it up, because in Resolution 6, there's no appointment of anyone yet. We'd have to do that at another meeting. So that's at least another 2 weeks later, which would be the first meeting in August. This way, we can start this process tonight. That's the only intent. President Pro Tem.
Yeah, so I mean, more to that point, though, one thing this doesn't, I mean, you talk about a committee in in this amendment, but there's no specificity about the form of the committee and how many people would be on it and whatever. So that's, that's a little bit of a, problem.
It's a problem, but it's one worth going through because we need the whole community engaged, and we need these stakeholders engaged.
No, I certainly agree with that, and and I get, obviously, we all got that memo that Leanne Gomes will give her credit for that she wrote, and I think that, I believe that your intent was sincere as far as that goes, but I certainly recognize that, in just a reading of the language of the resolution, that you could have the opinion that Alderman DeLucia does, so, and I agree with that. So I wanted to take, and so I agreed with taking that out. But the problem, I don't have a problem supporting the amendment, really, but the issue is just that I just don't see enough specificity in it at this point, so.
Thank you. It would be my intent to ask for all the departments listed to attend the meeting, invite the community stakeholders as well, and to work this through. This is not going to be solved quickly, and this cannot be given a quick effort by the city. This has to be long time effort throughout. In all truthfulness, I think this becomes an exercise year to year to year, and it has to remain that way. Yes, Alderman Wilson.
I would say the other part to this, just for my colleagues, is that this is only part one. I think there are other subcommittees or areas that will be developed or need to be developed to specifically work on specific areas as the 13 items explain. I think this is a start to help us broaden and start a framework for goals and as outlined in this resolution. But this is a start for us because I will say, having done the work with the Norwich Board of Education on where they are, it took us 10 months to get to where they are, and they are still doing the work. So this is a process, and in the resolution, we will continue to come back because this is not something that we're shying away from.
Thank you. Is there further discussion on the amendment as amended to Resolution 6? Yes, Alderwoman Gould.
I'll just make one more comment. Somebody earlier said this is a marathon, not a sprint. And I think the idea of buying in, there may be a group out there that we haven't even thought about. Or maybe they're sitting there saying, well, I'm not sure that we should get involved with this. And they may need some time to say, you know what? We want to be involved. I think that's what Leanne's thought process was on the concept of buying in. We want people to be engaged. And if we leave somebody out because we've rushed this through and 2 weeks from now, there's another group that we haven't thought of or haven't mentioned says, oh, you know what, I want to be part of this, we need to give them the opportunity. So this is a long-term process. If it's been going on for 100 years, we're not solving it tonight. We're starting it tonight. We're not fixing it tonight. So I think the language may not be the best language, but I think it's appropriate language that there may be a group out there that we want to get involved, who wants to get involved, who we haven't named yet. Thank you.
Thank you. And the language is open to allow for that as well. Is there further discussion on the amendment that has been amended to the Resolution 6? Yeah, please, sir.
We voted on the amendment to the amendment.
We voted on your amendment, but we haven't voted on this
That's
amendment.
what I'm, yes.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure we're all in the same place.
Yes, we are. Thank you. Is there further discussion? If not, roll call on the amendment as amended?
Alderman DeLucia.
Yes.
Alderman Miles.
Yes.
Alderman Wilson.
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt.
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom.
Yes.
That's 6-0.
The amendment passes 6-0. On the Resolution 6 as amended, is there further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman DeLucia.
Yes.
Alderwoman Miles.
Yes.
Alderman Wilson.
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt.
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom.
Yes.
That's 6-0.
Motion passes 6-0, and it is unanimous.
New business ordinance. An ordinance appropriating $145 million to fund all or portions of the unfunded actuarial accrued liability of the city employees' retirement plan and authorizing the issuance of general obligation pension bonds of the city to meet said appropriation.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to move that the council raise this for public hearing on August 2nd, that we waive the full text and reading at this time of this resolution. Is there such? And schedule the second reading on August 2nd so that we may in fact vote on it following the public hearing. Is there such a motion? Alderman Gould, second Alderwoman Ella Miles. Yes, Alderman Wilson.
Just a small question. I know we had the presentation on this a few weeks ago. Will some of those other areas that were addressed in the presentation have had a chance to take up this before we vote on the second? So I know personnel and pension was one of them. So I just figured I'd ask.
If I may, yes, Sheila, please. Has the Personnel and Pension Board reviewed the matter for members of council benefit? What they did.
Sheila Hayes is a member of the Personnel and Pension Committee. We meet tomorrow at 5 p.m. here in City Hall, and we will be addressing it. There is still the Norwich Public Schools that has to address it, and Norwich Public Utilities has to address it, so I don't know. Okay. So their meeting is next Tuesday, so it will be before. Do you know of Norwich Public Schools? Swansea.
Same night.
You don't know the date? Yeah, see, I don't think they meet in August. So is there a request to,
That would be too late.
is there a request maybe to the superintendent to have a special meeting of the school board to address it?
Thank you. I think that's absolutely necessary. In order for this to be actually placed on a ballot this November, all of this effort must be concluded, including the public hearing, before September 1st. It must be in the Secretary of State's hands.
Correct.
So
So I would say maybe reach out to the
Yeah,
superintendent.
absolutely.
Board chair about a possible special meeting.
Thank you for bringing that up, sir.
Thank you.
We ready to schedule the public hearing? Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman DeLucia?
Yes?
Alderman Miles?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
6-0.
Motion passes 6-0.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Alderwoman Gould, second by Alderwoman Ella Miles. Roll call, please.
Alderman DeLucia?
Yes.
Alderman Miles?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
That's 6-0.
Motion passes 6-0. We are adjourned, and thank you all for spending the evening with us.